Well, I'm a Devonian. I live here in the West Country. I'm working now for the Devon School of English to encourage mining engineers, particularly from South America, to come to this wonderful part of the world and to perhaps get their language a little bit more up to speed. My professional life has always been in mining. I went to the Devon School of Mines, famous mining school as it was, still is, although it's down in Falmouth now, not in Camborne. And as part of my trade from then on, I worked in mines in Canada and in South Africa, particularly in nickel mines, copper mines, and in gold mines. And at the time when I left South Africa, I was production manager on the second deepest mine in the world at the time, Doornfontein Gold Mine, which was 11,700 feet. And everything is extreme there. The situation with the labourers, the working environment, the heat, the stress, the rock stress, the size of the mine. The particular mine that I was in had a workforce of 10,000 men with a shift change of 3,000 men working at that depth. You can imagine it takes an hour and a half to actually travel there. So it takes the entire shift to get the first man to the last man down, by which time they're starting to come up again. But that wasn't the biggest mine in the area. Carletonville near Johannesburg, the next mine, West Driefontein, had 2.5 times that labour force, and there were about 4 or 5 mines in the district. So you can see it was big mining compared to what we have in this country and perhaps in other countries as well. And I left that in 1970 to start a project on my own, or on my own behalf, driving a railway tunnel in North Wales, here in Britain. And that was done with just 3 men, full stop, nobody else. And we drove a 271 metre long railway tunnel through granite. And that at the time was considered to be quite a challenging thing. We did it all with hand labour, handheld rock drills, no machinery other than compressed air rock loaders. And from there, when I'd finished that job, I decided to start a mining museum. So I went to a place called Morwellum Quay near Tavistock, and I opened up a historic copper mine there and drove a series of tunnels and got that into a situation where we were taking about 120,000 people a day underground with trains. We had up to 3 trains, 5 trains operating at any one time. So you can see it was quite intensive from the point of view of safety and signalling, and liaison with the mining inspectorate in this country to ensure the safety standards were good. And since I retired from that about 8 years ago, I've been doing various jobs that perhaps one might say are involved in the historic side of engineering. I've been helping with various mining museums such as Givor Tin Mine down in Cornwall and Kelly Mine up here in Devon. I've been involved in securing old mines for Cornwall County Council and generally helping any small mining museum to the best of my ability. Well, I graduated from the Devon School of Mines, one of the very best places in the world to learn your mining engineering. And from then on, I became a chartered engineer, and that developed into something called a European engineer. And I'm a member of the Institute of Mining Metallurgy. In fact, I'm a fellow of the Institute of Mining Metallurgy in the UK. And I'm also a member of the South African Institute of Mining Metallurgy. And one of the jobs which I have been doing for a number of years is chairman of an organisation called the Cornish Mining Development Association. That's an organisation that lobbies on behalf of the mining and quarrying sector at local and county and international level, holding the flag for producing mines.
Africa, I believe.
Well, it certainly brought it back to me when I was sitting in on one of the lectures here in the school and seeing people upgrading their English. Because when I was sent out to South Africa as a graduate engineer, I was given precisely 2 weeks to learn a new language, a language known as Phonicolor, which is a mixture of Bantu and Swazi and Zulu and Afrikaans, Pidgin English. And I had, I say, two weeks to learn to speak it, spell it, write it, and then, damn it all, go and use it to control hundreds of men in a very harsh environment. And no forgiveness there if you weren't very good at your job. You didn't really get on very fast. I must confess it took me a little bit longer than the 2 weeks that it was meant to be. I had to go down and do a few extra lectures, but it's quite a salutary experience to be thrown in quite literally at the deep end.
Back in history?
Well, Devon and Cornwall, two counties here in the West Country, have been really at the forefront of mining from the point of view of technical advances. And the steam engine was invented here in Dartmouth, just down the road from Paignton, by Devonian, and that really kick-started the Industrial Revolution right through to whatever we have today, computers and Concorde. It all started with the ability to get metals out of the ground. And really from that point on, you can say that Cornwall expanded to become the greatest tin and copper producing area in the world, certainly in the Victorian period. And even today we have mining going on, particularly in Devon with the new tungsten mine at Plimpton. We have clay mines here, or the actual underground workings have stopped recently, but we're still excavating ball clay and china clay. And we have slate being mined or quarried down in Cornwall, and there are still future hopes that the minerals in the ground in Cornwall haven't been totally excavated. The mines merely stopped from the point of view of economics. And if you look in the longer term, 20, 30 years future, metals are going to be in very short supply, and people will come back to the West Country to reopen these mines. I'm quite convinced of that. My job at South Crofty Mine for a year or two was the geologist's assistant, and whilst it was the lowest paid job in the mine, it was perhaps the most interesting job in the mine, because I visited every working part of the mine over the period of a couple of years that I was there, the working parts and the disused parts, and so I'm well aware of what's been left in the ground. Just a question of waiting for the economics to come right. And whilst we have a little bit of a blip at the moment with China taking a recession, it's not the value of metals right around the world. It will be cyclical. It will come back again for sure, because metals are in short supply, no doubt about that.
Chile?
Well, don't hesitate. Come to South Devon. It's the most beautiful part of the world. I've travelled the world in my occupation, and I've come right back where I started. I love it here. Beautiful beaches, sunshine, never rains here, believe it or not. And we really look forward to seeing you here and having a nice chat with you.